yo, Graceffo, this is Martial Arts Odyssey. Today we're in Bangkok, Thailand, and I'm with my very good friend, Craig Wilson, who flew to Cambodia like 5 years ago to spar with me. Craig is an inspiration to me. The man has overcome cancer. He's the oldest registered amateur boxer in Southeast Asia, maybe in the world. 85 fights he's had at least that he knows of, not counting exhibitions and everything else. He's flying all over the world fighting, and he's been nice enough to invite me to his gym today, and we're going to do a little training.
Welcome to Bangkok.
Thank you, Craig.
My pleasure.
Craig Wilson is a boxer that I've known for a number of years here. He flew over the border to Cambodia to spar with me a couple of years ago, and we've been friends ever since. Craig, you have a somewhat dubious distinction.
I'm the oldest amateur boxer in Thailand.
In the world.
For sure, probably in the world.
How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, what I always tell everybody is I'm 18 going on 53. When I get in the ring, I feel like I'm 18. When I get out of the ring, I'm somewhere between 18 and 53, depending on how I do.
You're doing better than me. I'm 42. I usually feel like I'm 42, except in the ring, then I feel like I'm 52.
No, it's funny. When I'm in the ring, I feel like, hey, I'm the same age as that guy, and that guy's usually like 22, 24, 25.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing, is that we're fighting over here in Thailand and Southeast Asia. The opponent is easily half our age.
Always.
Always.
There is nobody older than, well, let's say 30 is a rough cutoff.
Yeah.
There's nobody older than 30 in Thailand who is still competing.
Yeah.
There are lots of guys who were boxers who stopped. They might be willing to train with me, be willing to spar with me, but I've never had a chance to have an opponent who was anywhere close to my age. So, don't worry about it.
Yeah. I kind of have the same thing, but I'm not there yet. I'm 42, and still there's not many. I'd say 80% of them are 25 and younger. One of the other interesting things Craig does, apart from his boxing, is he does some charity work, and he's helping a bunch of kids. So why don't you tell us about that, Craig?
Well, about 5 years ago, I visited an orphanage in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. It's run by an Australian woman named Geraldine Cox, who is a friend of mine, which is how I got there. And I was just entranced with what Geraldine has done for those kids. She's got roughly 80 now. They go to school, they get 3 meals a day, they learn English, they learn the computer. They have opportunities that they would never ever get if they were still with family or with relatives in Cambodia. But in particular, one little boy who I was kicking around a soccer ball with just captured my heart. So I tried to adopt him. For a variety of reasons, that was not feasible. But I sponsor him, which means I pay money every month for his care. I go back to visit, generally speaking, once a month. I've now got him in an international school in Phnom Penh so that he's getting a Western-style education. Through that contact has developed a boxing program for the kids at the orphanage, amateur, strictly for fun, for exercise, but for the orphans, some of whom have perhaps not the same pride in themselves, not the same self-confidence that regular kids might have. I think the boxing program has been a really good.
For folks at home, Geraldine Cox from Sunrise Children's Village, and I worked in Cambodia for a couple of years, and I mean, she's won awards. She's recognized as being one of the better, and she doesn't generally allow adoptions outside, but she allows people to sponsor the children. So a lot of the issue in Cambodia is trying to raise the kids in a healthy environment, give them education and food, but allow them to be Khmer children.
Exactly.
And they don't want to be adopted away to another country, and then they lose their Khmerness. So in this case, it's wonderful. So your boy's living with other Khmer people, but he's going to the international school and getting a nice education.
But he still speaks Khmer. He's still a Khmer citizen. My hope and dream is that he will continue his education, get a college degree, but stay in Cambodia and contribute to his own country and not end up someplace else as another expatriate.
Sure, not be part of the brain drain.
Yeah, exactly, which is not a good thing.
Great. Now, Craig, tell me a little bit about your boxing. Craig is one of the most active boxers I know. I think this man's had more fights. Do you even know how many fights he had?
I have no idea. We're well over 60 in Thailand and somewhere around 20 or 25 when I actually took up boxing when I was living in the Philippines. So if you add it all up, it's somewhere over 80 or 85.
Okay, and I remember that when I knew you a few years ago, your goal was you wanted to fight one fight in every Southeast Asian country.
Yeah, well, I haven't quite made that. I've sparred in Vietnam. I've fought twice in Cambodia. I've sparred with the boxer from the Malaysian national team, although in Thailand. And I've had, of course, all these fights in Thailand.
You know, when I sparred in Vietnam, they told me that there's only 4 heavyweights in the whole country.
Really?
Yeah, and at the national championships, they give 3 medals. So there's one guy who must feel terrible. At 80 kilos, is it hard to get fights in Southeast Asia?
Actually, not as hard now as it was when I moved to Thailand 11 years ago. There seem to be an increasing number of bigger opponents.
Yeah.
And that may just be we've gotten to know a lot of people and have a lot of contacts.
It's probably also better diet and things.
I think so.
Yeah.
And my matches are for fun, for exercise. They're not, professional matches. Obviously, they're not even, official amateur matches. So if my opponent is a few pounds lighter than me, not a big deal because I am after all 20 years older than he is.
I totally relate to what you're saying, man. Well, Craig, you're a real inspiration. You really are, and you've done a lot for those kids in Cambodia. I know that. And I know you've spent a lot of your
they've done a lot for me. I mean, they have given me a real purpose in life, which, as someone who doesn't have children of his own, I lacked before.
Yeah.
And that to me is worth anything.
Totally understand where you're coming from, Craig. I appreciate everything you've done. I just want you to know you're a big inspiration, and I tell everybody about you everywhere I go. I really do. True story. And now we're finally going to have a video together so that people are going to know I didn't make you up.
I think I'm so strange. Nobody would believe you made me up. I have that good an imagination.
Wait, just one thing before we sign off. Could you just give some advice to the people in the world, young people, old people, whatever?
Well, I don't know if you knew this. I had colon cancer 12 years ago. I had surgery, I had radiation, I had chemotherapy. I have what's called an ileostomy, which is my colon was completely removed, so I have a little pouch right here, which is the way that I go to the bathroom. Obviously, it's a hindrance, but one of the things that boxing and that my life in Thailand has taught me and helped me to continue is don't give up and don't let something like that deter you from doing what you really want. If you were determined enough and you are committed enough, I think there should be no stopping you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Craig.
My pleasure.
I'm Antonio Graceffo. That's it for this episode of Martial Arts Odyssey. I'm here with my good friend Craig Wilson in Bangkok, Thailand. Craig is the inspiration, and I think Craig would agree with me when I say, get in the gym, do your steps, do your reps, do your road work, and please say a prayer for the people of Burma.